In your eyes, there's a heavy blue, one to love and one to lose.
Well, we knew because of seeing a lot of your videos and seeing and speaking to the right amount of people that if you buy commercial convert to resi, you can uplift value a lot more than a standard house.
Yeah, you've got an apartment and another apartment and another apartment and another apartment and another apartment.
Yeah.
But you bought the entire building for 130 grand.
Exactly.
Absolutely crazy.
Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to my channel. This week I'm really excited to introduce you to Ryan. Ryan is a musician, but he's also an extremely successful property investor. It's been really good helping him and watching him grow his portfolio over the last couple of years. He's doing some very big projects. One just made him £250,000. In fact, we're sitting in it right now. So you're gonna learn a lot from this interview. Please do me a big favor though, subscribe, smash the like button so you don't miss a future video. Hey Ryan, so good to sit down with you and see what you're doing.
Yeah, man, it's cool to finally flesh out some, some talking, some ideas.
Because you've kind of been a little bit of a closet property investor for the last year or so.
Yeah.
Just for anyone that doesn't know you, some people might recognise you. What's your background? How did we meet? And what are you most well known for?
So I've been in music since 2014-15. Did fairly well in a band called Road Trip. It was self-managed, and I pretty much managed it, and came out at the back end of that in a bit of a mess last year as coronavirus hit. And me and you had already met before that, and I'd seen some of the stuff you were doing, and I was just like, what is this? What is this like opportunity that you're opening up to everyone, that everyone seems to be reaping so many benefits from, about the buy, refurbish, refinance strategy? I just dug into that loads, man. Just did all my own due diligence. Didn't want to be public about anything until I knew what I was talking about.
Yeah.
So then was collected some friends who are now business partners, and just went for a project and then went for another one and then tried and tested, you had the strategy which you preach, and then me and you spoke about some different ideas, and just did as much reading as I could and as much speaking to people and learning. And now they've come out the other side of it with 2 finished projects, another 5 lined up. I'm sort of like, okay, I'm cool to start being a bit more public about this and starting to spread the good message that there's an opportunity to be made if you know where you're looking.
I think a lot of people as well don't want to speak too early, but you've done a lot, bro. Like the fact that it's the first time, now you're speaking out. I mean, the property that we're sat in right now is a commercial to residential. So this is a pub that you bought. Just walk me through the figures, because it's neat. I mean, I was very impressed seeing the project. How much did you buy this property for?
So 130,000. So 130,000 for the purchase. 240 on the refurbishment. Big refurb.
So you turned it into from an old pub. Bought it for 130. Spent 240 turning it into apartments, 5 2-bedroom apartments. Big 8-bedroom HMO. So serious big project. In total, then 240 plus 130. You're talking about 370. Is that right?
Yeah.
Test
and then plus obviously you got your legals and your miscellaneous and your things like that, and we work in about 430, 450. I think it is, because it's still, if you see the video of the walk around, it's still not quite finished. We've got last little bits to go, but minor costs in the grand scheme of things. And the valuation, 700k.
That is ridiculous.
Which means we're pulling it all back out.
So you're going to refinance, pour all your money out.
Yeah, near enough.
Rent it out. But, and I've just been to a HMO property of yours.
Yeah, another one. Yeah.
You bought it for how much?
Bought that for 75.
Auction, 75 grand.
Auction, 75. Both auction, actually.
Right. And how much you spend on the 75 grand HMO? 45. So in total, you're talking about 120.
Yeah.
And you've just refinanced it at 145. You're going to pull your money, most of the money out of that.
All back in a year, 100% return.
Which will give you a profit that one of a grand a month.
Yeah.
So technically now you're like financially independent now.
I mean, yeah, you could say that, but obviously we're trying to build a slightly different strategy to find out. I've already got financial independence. I'm already super happy with my life, my lifestyle. Musician, permanently, like get to pretty much do what I want on a daily basis. This is about building a business and bringing my mates in and my family in and trying to build long-term wealth that doesn't go anywhere. Rather than just a few deals, I want hundreds of deals and
Talk to me
big
about
projects.
Like your motivation, because sometimes people come to me and they haven't got much money, don't want to get out of their job. Of course, that's totally different with you. You've got a very successful music business,
different,
which you want to grow. What was your strongest reason for getting into property in the first place?
I've always wanted to. I've always loved building things, and it sounds weird, but like I always rearranged the furniture in our house and like built tree houses and things like that. I just loved putting these physical things together and making something, and always one day wanted to buy my own houses and do them up. But like any kid, I just assumed you couldn't do that till you're 40, 50. And it was only as I started building my own music business and other things, I started to realize the world doesn't quite work like that. There's many other gray areas and strategies if you know where to go looking for answers, like Samuel Leeds' YouTube channel, and just sitting down with a meal for you and things like that, and asking the right questions. And I realized, man, you can go really far with property if you know what you're doing and you put the right systems in place.
And then YouTube. It was funny, my YouTube channel, you know the story, one of my random videos just suddenly blew up.
Yeah.
I was like, why is this video so popular? What's going on? And all of the comments, it was just road trip. And I think you or one of the band members had accidentally saved one of my videos in one of your playlists on your massive YouTube channel with over 1 million subscribers. And then suddenly one of my videos just started blowing. I'm like, what the heck? Probably all these teenage girls coming in. But you know, you've built what you've built on the music side is absolutely incredible.
Yeah, man.
When we met, you were in a band. Called Road Trip. And now, what are you doing? Are you solo? Are you still in a band? I know there's been changes over the last year or two.
Yeah, we went through a big bang at the start of Corona. Band dispersed for many different reasons. You can find that information online if you want to find it. It is, and crooked managers and things like that. But we then, me and my friend Sonny, who was in the band, we then came out of that and created a new like entity called Feats. We are essentially a duo. We just never acknowledge it, but we are a duo. Me and him make music, and my brother as well helps us all content and helps run the business. And we make a song every week and release it every week. And we hold ourselves accountable, and we're trying to do it for a year. We've done 35 weeks so far. I'm not gonna lie, it's like cool songs. And we didn't know how to make songs. Summer last year, I'd never made a song in my life, but I'd been in the music industry 5-6 years, building brands and singing and doing recording songs, but not making them, not producing them and stuff. So just set a whole new challenge to do a song a week for a year, just to keep us entertained and keep us going through coronavirus because of lockdown and things like that. And music's cool.
You're with music and with property, you're a real doer. A lot of people talk, and that's I think one of the reasons we get on, because there's a lot of talkers in all industries.
It's just fluff, man.
There is a lot of that. But with property, you've just got your head down and you've been getting results. With the music, talking about it, you just literally bang, bang, bang.
35 songs out. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, putting songs out every single week. I mean, that's incredible. How do you find the time to do your music and run that business, and then also like where we are right now as well, where you've got your portfolio is all kind of like northeast, right? So we're in Newcastle right now, which is not close to London.
No.
So how do you manage the time to build your property portfolio, and you've not done that hands off? A lot of people that are musicians that are making decent money will just throw their money. Maybe they'll just say to people like me, hey, can you invest this for me? But you've done everything yourself. You've rolled your sleeves up. You've got your hands dirty. How have you managed to do that?
I mean, there's certainly a strategy to it, but I would say before the strategy, it takes a certain mindset. And fortunately, because my parents, blessed with a certain DNA that means you work hard and you commit, and if you're doing something you go all the way to the end. And applied that in the music business, and it worked out, and I've applied it here, and now throughout Corona I've just had to continuously just work and build. So my answer would there's many strategies for how you can build property and do this kind of stuff, but really you just have to learn to sacrifice all your time if you want to build something, especially if you want to build something considerable. And in terms of more strategic, is just regular site visits as much as you can manage, but with 10-hour return trips, you're having to squeeze time in, which means not seeing mates as often, not going to parties, not doing social things. It's been Corona, so that's a bit of a weird blessing in that regard. Not that Corona's a blessing at all, but it just managing time. I don't know how it's. Honestly, I don't know. I don't know how it's done.
I think it's partly down to attitude and the person.
I think it's a mindset, bro. I think I just don't think you can build anything worthy without understanding what sacrifice means and knowing you wake up and work until you sleep, and you get up the next day and do the same thing, and there's not a complaint. There's not I need time off or any of that shit. I've not done that for 7-8 years. I've not had a holiday or a time off. Just build and build and build and build. until you've made something like that people enjoy or is interesting.
But I mean, and I think it also depends on what you want to get out. So
Yeah,
if you want to, what you're doing with the property business, very clearly, I mean, you've got what, 7 projects?
7
in
on the go.
Right now.
Well, two complete and 5 on the go. One's just got planning approved. The other one's going for planning now.
So but they're all yours. You bought them all. So
Yeah,
so you've got 7 projects. Some of them very big as well.
Yeah.
You know, we're not talking little houses. To do that in the space of time that you've done, and what you want to do, you want to grow a massive portfolio.
Yeah.
You know, so
And also back to like what your whole like ethos is about. Like anyone can do this. And in October of 2019, I had about 6 grand to my name. I didn't start with any money, man. Like I was broke as you could be at the end of the band, and had to just convince people and pitch to people that this could work. The first one being my father, and then raising from investors, and then building a story around it once we knew what we were doing. Like didn't start with any money. I think is a good point to clear up, right? That obviously if I'd started with £1 million, you could do 7 projects pretty easily, right? But if you're starting off with nothing, and you're just leveraging the right things and trying and testing the strategies that you preach and that other guys in the same sort of field preach, it does actually work. It's really weird. It just works. It's crazy.
Starting with 6 grand, it's kind of crazy because you'd built up quite a big successful thing really with the bands. I mean, I don't mean to get into details, but you left with 6 grand.
Bro, I never got paid. Bro, I made no money for all that time. I just put it back into the business, and there's a whole other thing that went on. Like, it got very sticky towards the end. And all of this is online, by the way. If people want to go dig it up, you can find out what actually happened. But essentially, it all got ripped away by a certain entity and left with nothing, left in debt. And that's how I started the property business, in debt, with a liability for 2 months rent on a gaff that was like 6 grand a month, with a load of other debt. Like, just, it was so messy, left to me and Sonny, my brother, to sort out. And then off the back of that, learn how to make music, release a song a week, and then build a property portfolio. And it's a pandemic. I don't know how the last year's manifested itself.
And how you've gone from that to having 7 projects on the go.
Yeah.
I mean, this one has made you, what, quarter of £250,000?
£250,000, yeah.
And this one was used with your own, you and your father put your own money in?
Yeah, it's all us, yeah. This was we're going to prove that it works before bringing in investors.
Of course.
Like, we want to show this works.
Yeah.
And it does.
And so you got this. Talk me through then what happened and how you bought it and what the journey has been with this project, which is a pub conversion.
It's a pub conversion. It was the first one we bought, and maybe call it naivete. I don't know what it was that made us think a pub was a good idea to start from. But we'd heard you say, actually, in quite a few videos, that it doesn't matter about the size of the property. It's all the same headache, really. And because it was 130 grand, it was about the same price as just a standard house around here, really. So we were like, well, why don't we get that? Because the chances are we can uplift value massively. Back when we didn't really know what the sus was. And then got it at auction 2 minutes before the auction before the auction started. We got it pre-auction 2 minutes before the auction started, and then went for planning.
How did you do that? Did you just say to the auctioneer or the estate agent that was selling it, you said, here's my final offer before auction, take it or leave it?
Well, we try getting it for 110 pre-auction, and we were so close to getting it, but because it was only a few days before the auction, they came back after a few days of considering and went no, but the day before the auction. And then we had hours until it hit 5:30 when the auction closes, and when they open, it would be listed in the auction the next day. So 2 minutes before, literally, I've got a screenshot on my phone somewhere of the email that is us submitting and accepting, right, we'll go for the 130 asking. Because we thought the 20 grand difference was a lot at the time, not knowing how much this thing was going to uplift in value.
Not knowing it was going to be worth 700 grand a year later.
No, I had no idea. So we thought it was worth squeezing the 20k. It just wouldn't have really mattered as much in the end, and didn't. And then 2 minutes before the auction, we got the email back from them that said, okay, yeah, all confirmed, we've got the money, like, because we had to send across the deposit. And we were like, oh shit, it's starting. Like, now you've got 30 days to complete, and then it's a project, and it's a pub like, what do we do? We've done as much due diligence as we could, had builders looking at it and everything, but it's a whole different ball game. Like doing all the preliminaries is different to then being like, oh, now you've got it.
There's only so much preparation you can do. You have to just jump in. And what you've done, you've done a lot of due diligence, and you are a thoughtful person, but you're also a massive action taker. So you've been earning and learning kind of at the same time as you go.
Yeah.
So okay, so you bought it. How long did it take then, start to finish, to complete the refurb?
12 months. But it should have taken 9. But obviously the Corona has just screwed so much.
And you got a commercial valuation on this.
Yeah.
How did you feel when the value came up? Bear in mind, you bought it for 130, spent 240 on it, so you're only about 370 in. When the valuation came in at 700, how did you feel?
Well, not halfway through the project, but toward the end of last year, we got a 590 on it from the lender, and we were like, okay, whoa, like 600, mad. We were expecting mid 40s, maybe 500, mid 500s if we're like lucky. And when we got 590, we were just like mad, and we got 610, and then we got 675.
Oh, because you were valuing each bit up.
We were valuing each stage, just to manage risk as we go. It's a slightly expensive way of doing it, but it's
staging
better.
it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then 700k, and we were just like, I mean, it's fortunate that it went up to that level because we'd overspent by maybe 40, 50 because of the delays and Corona. There's nothing we could have done. Like, we had to spend that money. Yeah. And the main supply, they wouldn't do it for like 4 months. They had to close off the road eventually when they did it. It was just so many delays. And the bridging finance obviously rolling up as we were going along pointlessly. So a lot of mistakes, but learnt a lot. And because of the uplift and the cheap price, it meant we could make those mistakes in a learning curve. So we kind of incubated the perfect learning scenario. Do you know what I mean?
What are the other projects then that you've got going on?
So we got these two, which is 5 2-bed flats, 8-bed HMO and a 5-bed HMO. They're now pretty much on the market. Yeah. One of them is on the market. This is going on the market like as we speak. And then we've got an 8-bed HMO, which we've secured literally up the road. And that's gone to planning. So it's currently a 3-bed house. It's big. It's got the double fronted, and we know we can get 8 beds out of it. That we'll get that. That's a good location.
I love what you're doing as well with the buying just outside Article 4 areas.
Yeah.
Turning them into HMOs. We know that Article 4 is going to ripple through.
Exactly.
And you're going to have the grandfather rights. You're winning on the rent. You're winning on the forced capital appreciation. You're winning on the planning. It's like every which way. You're smashing it.
Yeah.
So okay, so you've got a few HMOs. You've got this massive project.
Yeah.
What other big things have you got going on?
Well, we've got another 7-bed HMO in Wakefield that's just past planning this week. That's going to start June. And then the other big ones, we've got another pub that we're tendering at the moment, which is basically a 2.0 of this. It's cheap. It's going to uplift mad. It's going to be a great project. And we've already had the builder check out. I've already discussed some terms with the agent who's going to get back tomorrow. We'll get that one. I'm sure we'll get it. And then the other one is a project further south of here, and that's a 9,500 square foot. And we just secured that 65 grand below asking price, and it's maybe twice the size of this pub. Incredible. Which that'll be some.
So you're a fully pledged property developer now then?
I wouldn't consider myself like anything really, other than I've done some projects, and I feel like I know what I'm doing now, but. That's all I feel. I just feel like I know what I'm doing, and I know what my business needs to do, and what we're up to. But like beyond that, I don't really know what's going to happen. I'm just excited to keep building and to keep bringing in new projects and to keep looking at things differently and trying new strategies.
What's next then? So what are you hoping the next year or two are going to look like?
Well, we've targeted by the end of 2022, we want 25 projects and 35 grand cash flow each month net is where we want to be. That's our target as a business, and as personally, that was what will give us the freedom we want to then like move wherever we want in the property like realm. Not necessarily that we need the cash flow for our personal lives, but it gives you that flexibility within the business to start making much bigger decisions and where do we want to go with it. 10 grand a month would be nice, but like doesn't really solve much for us because of the nature of property. Is quite expensive, takes a lot of cash. But when we can start doing 25, 35, 50 grand a month, you can start doing a big project every year that's just yours, as well as using investors' money, which we are open to do and do.
I mean, you know, my advice to you, which I've said, which is you've done it yourself now.
Yeah.
You know what you're doing. You've taken due diligence. You've got a really good team. I mean, we've been speaking for probably about
Nearly 2 years, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, this has been in the planning.
Yeah.
You've now done it. If you wanted to scale up, I absolutely reckon bring other investors in.
Yeah.
And scale that way. You know what you're doing. You've got a really, really good team. I mean, you've had some troubles. You've had to fire some builders.
Yeah.
Tell me about some of the problems that you've had.
Well, I guess the main thing it's our fault. Like, I'm not going to put it onto the builders. We should have been way more. We should have ran way more due diligence when we were bringing in builders. You just kind of assume when you're starting out that they're a builder and you've met them, you trust them. We spoke to these guys loads, and that we'd walked around the property with them. We just but at some point you just trust people.
Yeah.
But you just need to make sure people are compliant and that they understand.
So what did they do wrong?
Compliance.
These builders.
Well, it's a HMO, that was the conversion, and they just didn't know how to meet HMO standards and HMO compliance. So we ended up having to redo some of the project with another builder, which is a waste of time and money, obviously.
So they just weren't doing it to a standard which was going to be fit for purpose.
No, exactly. It would have been fine if it was a standard buy-to-let, but you have to have the right fire regs and the right, everything is different with a HMO. And
how often do you travel up the northeast?
At the moment, it's probably like every 2 weeks or something. But it's going to be only because we've just completed 2. Like, these are finished now. I've not needed to be here, but we've got 3 that are going to start in June, and that's big, and they're big ones as well. So when they start, I imagine it's going to be every week, twice a week, or something.
You've got a lot going on, and you literally drive down and back in a day, which I still don't understand.
Yeah. I don't know why. It's the idea of staying overnight and then waking up the next day being like, cool, now I've got a 5-hour travel. I'd rather just have the worst day of travelling, but then wake up the next day and be like, cool.
So whereabouts are you living? You're living in London.
Yeah.
Great. What have been some of the biggest lessons? Then some of the tips that you share with other people. If you were advising yourself, 2 years prior, what would you say?
I would say, although I'm all about just do it and go for it, don't start with a pub. Don't start with a pub conversion unless you really know your shit. I don't know if we got lucky. I don't really believe in luck. I think you manifest your own luck, but there's definitely things that could have happened here that didn't, that would have potentially finished the project. Like, we would have been screwed. Like the main supply could have been way more than it was, and all this other kind of stuff. And not that I think any of that is a likely issue on another project, but the fact that we didn't even know how to ask those questions means I wouldn't have taken that risk in hindsight. But that's the great thing about a bit naivety in a way, isn't it? Is that you can do really like risky things without even knowing. So I would say manage risk from the start more wisely. Start with a smaller project just to learn stuff, which was the benefit of doing the HMO, the fibre HMO at the same time. We were learning loads of mistakes with that one, adapting them for this one, and then using that knowledge when we're acquiring new ones.
Yeah, and it's so weird though, because our conversations now about property we speak such different conversations to when we first met on that dinner. Now we speak on the same level. Whereas then it was like HM what? Like,
HM what? What are you talking about, Sam?
You didn't have a clue about the different strategies, and now where you've come.
When I met you, I was asking all about rent to rents. I was like,
you were? I thought you was doing it.
Yeah. You were like, tell me about rent to rents. And when I explained my scenario, so for some people that stuff works really well, but for me, you were like, it's not going to work for you. So your time is not going to. You're not going to be able to do it. And I was like, okay, interesting. And it's those little ideas, man. They lead you down paths where you go, oh, okay, and then you think of a whole new scenario.
Yeah.
And then we'd flesh that out, and it would.
I forgot about that, but yeah, you did.
I wanted to do rent to rents.
You were like, I want to do rent to rents, and I remember saying, don't do rent to rents.
Yeah.
You want to.
Because I was broke and I need money, and I was like, I got to buy a house, bro. I was like, how do I get into this rent to rent stuff?
Yeah.
And
I bet you got. No, you didn't do rent to rents.
Oh mate, I would for me it wouldn't work doing rent to rents. And I'm fortunate enough to be in a position where my father is part of the business as well, obviously.
Who's, by the way, a great guy.
Yeah,
we had dinner with your dad.
No, my dad's he's an absolute character. He's a proper legend, and he's spent his life and business in London, raising finance and working with big family wealth and stuff, and has been instrumental, obviously, in supporting what we do in the business. But him, like me, didn't know anything about the strategies. HMO was like, what? So we've still had to learn from scratch, and still started with bare minimum money. But it just meant that when we were up and running, we knew how to scale it. We were like, okay, now it's a business, let's scale it. Rather than just be like, okay, how do we scramble the next HMO or something like that?
And people might say, you know, oh, you got a bit lucky because of this, that, and the other, and with the pub, and you've got your dad, and you happen to meet Samuel, and this, that, and the other. But it's like you create your own luck.
Yeah.
You know, you put yourself in the right place at the right time. You could have, you know, been licking your wounds after the whole thing happened with the band and lockdown. Isn't life hard? But instead, during that year, which, by the way, a lot of people said 2020 was a write-off.
Yeah.
Everyone on Facebook, I was seeing, oh, this year's a write-off. So you had the issues with your band, were left with not a lot of money at all, you know, coronavirus, can't perform, can't tour, and you made 2020 probably the most successful year of your life, I would imagine.
I bought a cat as well in 2020.
Well, definitely the best year.
Possibly the best thing I ever did. I love my cat. But no, I made a lot of serious decisions in 2020, and I started 2020 off actually. I publicly said to quite a few because I was so fed up of the way things were happening that I was just like, you know what, this year I'm just gonna be ruthless. Like this year I'm just getting shit done. Like I'm not worrying so much about the people around me, like, and catering for all their needs and stuff. I was just like, nah, I need to do me at some point. And it just shows, man, if you just focus on something and just set a ruthless goal and go for it, pretty much anything's possible.
Well, yeah, I mean, you create your own life, you write your own book of life. But most people give someone else the pen. Oh, you can write my life, but actually, you've got to take back the power.
You do, but some people like that. Some people want that. Some people want someone else to govern everything they do, and I can appreciate that. I just don't. We're just not wired that way. Do you know? If you're not wired that way, you can't really like understand it as much. Do you know what I mean? But if some people want that, that's fine. Some people want 2 HMOs. Some people want to just make a few songs. Some people like working their 9 to 5. Like I just want to do life on my own terms, as you do, and most people should do. I think should want to live on their own terms and live prosperously and like never worry about money. That's the saddest thing, when people worry about money, which is what property can do for you. It can make you not have to worry about money because it doesn't take much time once you've got it up and running.
Or if you do it wrong, it can make you worry more about money.
Yeah.
It can. It can if you do it wrong.
Yeah.
You've done it right. You've done it smart.
Well, yeah, we ended up doing. No, we did. We finished it right, but I mean, so many mistakes were made.
Yeah, that will always happen, though.
Yeah,
the thing is, here's my advice. I think I said this to you when we first met. A big deal and a small deal would take just as much effort. Yeah. So this pub conversion, which you've made £250,000 profit, I know was less work than your HMO down the road, right?
Yeah.
However, so you might say, well, why don't you just do big deals? When you're starting out, you're going to make a lot of mistakes. Yeah. Sometimes you're better off to make mistakes on a small deal than on a big deal. Exactly. So what my advice is, start small and then build your way up bigger and bigger and bigger. So for you now, I personally wouldn't be doing small projects now. I'd only be doing big stuff. I'd be bringing other people in. You know, what you've done is incredible. I'm really inspired as well, actually, because I think looking at the figures and seeing what you've done in Newcastle. Newcastle's a great place. I'm really excited about Newcastle as a city. And I'm also really grateful that you've let me sit down and interview you and talk through the.
Oh mate, don't even like. It's funny how both ways this works. Like it starts off by me going, "Shit, what's this? What are you doing?" Like I'm inspired by what you're doing and what you're saying, and now like it comes full circle, doesn't it? When you like work on something and put effort into it.
Well, now and that's what friends should do. Friends should inspire each other. Friends should pull each other up. But also, I know I've been kind of banging on you about. Put stuff out, vlog it. So it's great that now you're able to do that. You've got a website that's about to launch by the time this comes out. Hopefully,
we'll have.
So what it's called yet?
It'll be Beaumont and Partners something. We haven't established the URL.
I'll leave it in the description anyway. People want to connect.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
So final words of advice to someone watching this that's thinking, you know what? Maybe they're a musician. We've had quite a few musicians that we've worked with. Or maybe they're not. Maybe they're thinking about doing rent-to-rents. They've got $6,000. But anyone that's thinking about stepping into the realm of property, that doesn't know much, like you didn't a couple of years ago, what advice would you give them getting into it?
I would say, speak to Sam.
That's me.
Speak to Sam. But I'd say honestly, sounds maybe a bit too far fetched, but it's easy to sit here now with a finished pub conversion, or like you with the castle and things like that. It's easy to sit there and be like, we've done this and it's made us loads of money and it's great. But like, there's so many junctures down like through the journey where we were like, shit, like there's so many mistakes, there's so many bad things happening. Like that is just the nature of it. There's so many things that are going to go wrong. Don't be intimidated by that. Accept those things are going to happen no matter how much you prepare. That mistakes are going to happen. Put the systems in place, manage your downside, and just accept that mistakes will happen and just find solutions, find answers. Then you can sit with a finished pub conversion or whatever it is and be happy about it. Like,
that's great. Well, hey, dude, really inspired. Thanks so much for being
Thank
on
you,
the
man.
show. Appreciate you. Guys, I think you'll appreciate how much Ryan has done and how incredible and inspirational his stories. Please do me a massive favour, smash the like button. Also, you're going to see some more videos with Ryan coming up real soon. If you want to subscribe to the channel, you can do that up right here. You want to see a playlist of literally over 100 people that are smashing it in property, just like Ryan is. You're going to do a whole playlist up right here. Thanks so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you next time.